This next step of practice is going to be filling in the wing section of the bird. So what you're going to need for this is glue, so either some sort of tacky glue, Elmer's glue, or a glue stick. Tacky glue does tend to work the best because it's going to keep the pieces on and dry the quickest, and then Mod Podge as well works if you need to use that. But again, we're going to be working with the wing of the bird, and since on our reference picture that section is the darkest, we're going to choose a dark color of the paper quilling to begin rolling and shaping into different shapes. So for the wing of the bird, we're going to be learning about a teardrop shape, but I'm going to go ahead and play this video so you can start to see the steps of using the tool to roll up the paper and then glue it and create the shape that we're working with. So to get started, I'm going to hold my paper quilling tool in my right hand, and then I'm holding the paper in my left hand, and it's important to line up the paper in between the slit in that silver part. And then everyone's going to find a method that works the best for you to hold your paper. But what tends to work best for me, and a lot of my previous students, has been using your middle finger to hold the paper with your thumb, and then your pointer finger just on the edge of that silver tool there. So once you have it rolled up, you're going to let it expand in your hand, and I'm going to pinch just one side of it to create a teardrop shape. So there's a couple different shapes we'll practice. There's lots of shapes out there that you can research and use for different textures. So every different shape is going to create a different look for your project. So as we're practicing these different shapes, keep thinking about which shape you would like to use and what's going to work the best for you. And again, I'm just using a little bit of tacky glue here. So I used a paintbrush to apply it, and I'm just holding it down for 1 or 2 seconds to make sure that it dries. And then I'm going to grab a little bit more tacky glue and add it to the bottom of my piece, and then find a spot for it to go. So I'm going to put this onto the wing of the bird and hold that for a second for it to dry. So I'll go ahead and add another shape here so that you can see this repetition with how to hold the tool, how to roll the tool in the paper. Again, figure out which position of holding the paper and the tool is going to work the best for you. So I'm lining up the paper in that silver slit, holding the paper steady with my thumb and middle finger, and then just using my pointer finger to keep the paper in place on the tip of the silver tool there. So I'm rolling this all the way up. And another thing to think about that I'd like to mention is the size of your paper. So the paper that I'm using here, I actually ripped in half so that I'm not creating a super large shape on this small bird that I'm working with. For practice, you definitely can use a larger shape, especially if this is a technique that does take a little bit longer for you. It will obviously fill your shapes or your focal point faster. But for this sake, if you want to be a little bit more detailed, try ripping into smaller pieces. For your final project, obviously the smaller the piece that you rip, the more detailed your final outcome will be. So think about how detailed you want to work with, see how practice goes, see if this is a technique that's going to go quickly and work well for you, or if it's something where you want it to be more painting based and you're using larger shapes. So I filled in that second teardrop shape there. I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the rest of the bird. So again, as I'm rolling this up, I'm just pinching one side, adding glue to the flap to keep that in place.